So this let me clarify a little bit. So what you're saying is true. They had discourse with the people. Right. So what it's trying to explain is that they didn't just go into the synagogue, preach a sermon, and sit down like, "Whoop, I'm preaching today." That's what we do, right? We go stand up.
Yeah.
We say the word. Yeah. Let the anointing fall. People can shout, dance, fall out, get prayer, and we're done. But when Paul and Silas went to the synagogue, he really modeled himself after Jesus. Yeah. He didn't just preach a message, but he sat down. They talked to the people. They had discourse. Yes. Right. Back and forth. They were trying to explain, this is why Jesus is the Christ. This is why you need to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, why he is the King. They wanted people to understand. And sometimes we want people to understand, but we don't really want to engage them with questions. We don't really want them to ask us stuff because we're afraid we're not going to know the answer. Yeah. We're going to be embarrassed. So sometimes it's safer to be in a pulpit. We can just dump and sit down. Go ahead. Than to really sit down and engage people. And so, exactly. Exactly. That's good. And so they went back for 3 Sabbaths. They went back. They didn't get it the first time. We going back. Yeah. We get rejected one time. Oh, shit, dust off the door. Deuces, we're moving on. But they went back again. And then they went back another Sabbath again because they wanted to reason with the people. When it talks about reasoning together, let's have a discussion. What do you think? You don't get that? Let me see if I can explain it to you this way. Challenge me. Ask me questions. Yeah. And one of the things that was interesting that I learned was that there were people who would come to the synagogue. So just a few thoughts before we move on to Jason. Paul and Silas were troublemakers. They messed up the status quo.
Yes, they did.
They agitated those who were in authority. That's one of the things that troublemakers do.
Amen.
Right? Not because they wanted to upset people, but because they were committed to speaking the truth. Yes. Yes. And we need more leaders, more ministers, just more followers of Jesus who will stand up and speak the truth. Yeah. We are called to be salt and light in the world. What are we doing? Do we agitate anybody or anything? When we walk into a space, whether it's our home, whether it's in the community, at church, at work, what does our presence bring into that space? Are we just like everybody else? Do we disrupt Satan's agenda daily? Do we speak truth?
And that's a big
Do we preach the gospel when we're not in a pulpit?
That's right.
When there's no basket involved, when the robe comes off or the suit comes off, are we salt and light in the world? Are we disruptors? Are we agitators? Is anybody concerned when we show up into the room?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Or go into a whack meeting in your job where all kind of foolishness is happening and you walk into the room and they're like, oh, the Christian is here. Here she is. Like, do we disrupt? Light is supposed to pierce darkness. Right?
Amen.
When we sit in a room like this, we're a bunch of lights together.
That's right.
We're encouraging one another. We're not disrupting a whole lot because we're on the same accord here. But when we walk out there, when we're in the midst of darkness, when we're in the midst of people who don't believe the truth, or we're in the midst of situations where there's oppression and just people not being treated the way God would have them be treated, are we salt and light in those spaces?
Can I just say this? Right before I came in, I was listening to the news, and it really took a while with the praise to press through that. But the mother of one of the young men that was killed in the California, those 12 people. I think, I'm not quite sure, but I think he had almost died in Las Vegas.
Yes.
But unfortunately, he was, and then imagine, he barely his life was spared one place, and then he gets killed in this other place.
Yes.
So she said, and I thought I was going to burst out into tears. She said, I don't want any prayers. I don't want any thoughts. I want gun control. And so the whole prayers and thoughts thing, and this is not speaking against the power of prayer. That's not what I'm saying. But it just spoke to that, what you're saying. Oh, thoughts and prayers. It's not even real prayer because it's like a cliche. It's not like a throwaway. Oh yeah, thoughts and prayers. This woman, if you would have heard her, it was just. It was piercing. You lost your child, and he escaped the one situation, and only it's just like really. And so what you're saying is our legacy as believers in America going to come down to thoughts and prayers.
The people say, my prayers are with you.
That's good.
You have to hear what people say.
challenged.
Yes, I heard it. They'll say, my prayers are with you.
She was
Anything
really speaking to the leaders because that's what they say every time this happens.
Exactly.
Even the president says, my prayers are with you. So she's not saying, I heard it too. She doesn't say I'm with prayer. She's saying, I'm tired of you saying that.
Exactly. That's how I got it too.
That's good.
Yes.
What are we gonna? How are we gonna agitate and disrupt? Because that's a big term these days. Disruption. You know.
I do like that term,
and I like it.
I do.
I like it. And we're the ones that should. You know, it seems like sometimes the world adopts these terms and we just let it go. Like, well, let them take it. It's our term. This is where it started. Right?
We're supposed to lead each other.
Right.
That's good.
For Christ. Let's go to Jason.
That's really good.
Okay, those who are left, I can't remember. But Jason, what was poor Jason? Poor Jason. Just trying to help out, right? What was his role? What did he do? What was his behavior?
He was I was 4. He was accused of quote unquote holding Paul and Silas in his house, and come to find out they were not there. But so they didn't find them, so he was locked up along with the others that was in the house because I guess guilty by association, and it kind of happens sometimes. And
Yeah.
Any other observations about Jason from group 4?
He was a casualty of war.
He was a casualty. But what did he do that was good? What did he?
he was what I wrote down. He was an entertainer. Like he loved to entertain. That's
He like that fellowship.
Yeah, like
fellowship.
he likes to
We call it hospitality.
He likes to and who knows what it actually was, but he was known to be a,
He's like a fellowship house.
Yeah. Everybody be holed up
He
at
had to get the hospitality.
You know they're at Jason's house. You know exactly where they are.
And what do you think his motive was in all of this?
To do what he could. Like he said.
Provide a safe haven.
He
Say that.
To provide a safe haven.
To provide a safe haven for the apostles. So Jason wasn't actively out with them in the synagogue teaching and contending for the faith and all of that, but he assisted them in what they were doing.
Guilty by association.
And kind of reminds me of the women who followed Jesus. When you read in the Gospels and it talks about he went from town to town preaching and healing and all that, and it says there was a group of faithful women who followed him everywhere he went and provided for his needs.
Yes.
That Jason has that spirit. I'm not doing what they're doing, but I'm down with the cause. I'm a helper.
he played his role.
He played his role.
That's good.
He played, so he was he was a part of what was happening, although he wasn't directly involved. Just like the mob was a part of what was happening, they didn't even know what was happening. But Jason helped the apostles.
Yeah.
And because he was a helper, because he was down and wanted to support them, he got so dragged. Did they literally drag him?
Him and everybody
Dragged him. And some believers, just a group, dragged them before the authorities, before the city authorities. And what ends up happening to Jason?
He had to put out some money.
Yeah. Thank God he had the money. I think the people that he was entertaining over the years was dropping some money on him.
In the bail party.
Just leave something, just leave something.
Okay, it's a little conjecture, but I hear you. But he had had to pay.
2018 version.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, think about that.
And he
I'm
did
helping.
nothing.
I'm helping
Guilty
them
by
out.
association.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's
It
good,
was
Kaylee.
guilty
They're
by
not here.
association.
That's good, Kaylee.
I don't just get arrested. I get dragged from my home.
Yeah.
My
Humiliation.
people with me get dragged from my home. I get brought before the authorities, and I have to pay.